Welcome back, Kiss Army YouTube, to the Kiss Army Things podcast. This is episode 10. My name is Jeb.
And my name is Xander.
Jumping right into it, would you like to start us off with some follow-ups on what's been going on?
Yeah, so real quickly, thank you guys for joining us. Go ahead and like and subscribe. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing, because we have now reached over 100 subscribers.
Awesome.
So thank you for those who already have subscribed. If not, go ahead and do that now. We're bringing new episodes every 2 weeks here on YouTube. Jeb is back from vacation.
Yes.
How was vacation down in Tennessee?
Vacation was excellent. It was a much-needed getaway, and sorry I couldn't be here for the show, but of course the lovely Daphne was filling in, so I still need to watch that episode, but I'm looking forward to it. You guys had a good topic, I think, so we might touch on that later, but
yeah, definitely. It was great to have Daphne on, because we just kind of sat and talked about some of the concerts we've been to, some of the expos, and really talked about just the fun of being a Kiss fan.
Absolutely.
Which I think is what this podcast is about mostly. It's just the fun of being a Kiss fan. We talked about how, being a Kiss fan warrants you a lot of experiences that you might not have in other places, or
Good
just
point.
more enhanced,
Absolutely.
I don't know how many folks I know who have met every member of their favorite band. We've met Gene, Paul, Eric, Tommy, we've met Ace.
Mm-hmm.
And
Kiss takes everything and turns it up to 10, which is exactly what Kiss is for, and so cool to know how that translates to the fans' experiences themselves.
Yeah, and she was saying about how she likes, 80s Kiss was her favorite. That was her hot take.
Oh yeah,
that was her hot take.
It shouldn't be a hot take, because 80s Kiss is
fantastic. Yeah, it's
in
fabulous in every sense.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very underrated. But since your vacation, a lot has happened. We talked, in I think episode 8 it was, about the Fanboy Expo.
Yeah.
And how we were going to be able to, go meet Peter Criss for the first time. Our first time meeting Peter Criss. James DeBello and Edward Furlong from Detroit Rock City, the movie, were going to be there.
Yes.
And, of course, the Fanboy Expo has now been canceled because of the Delta variant.
Right, yeah.
Peter released a statement saying, hey, because of the Delta variant, because it's not safe, we're going to have to cancel, and that he would hope to come back in the future, which I hope he can, because that was a real bummer.
Real bummer, and, not only would that have been our first time meeting Peter, but who knows how many other times we will get the opportunity. I mean, if this gets postponed to next year, still don't know what things are going to look like. Is Peter's health in general going to be good? Is he still going to be in a mood to be doing this stuff?
Yeah.
So it was really quite disappointing. And, I wasn't sure if the whole event had been canceled, but I guess it is. So so we're not going to be meeting anyone.
It was a good move on his part, but yeah, definitely. I mean, but disappointing nonetheless. I mean, we wanted to. It's been a while since we've been doing any events, and so it was so nice to be able to to buy the tickets and get hyped
have something
up.
to look forward to.
But hopefully they will reschedule, and hopefully Peter will be still inclined to do that, because I know I hope he knows that he has so many fans that still want to meet him, and we love Peter, and we want to be able to have that memory of getting our photo taken, whatever it is. But the other thing, of course, is that some shows from the End of the Road tour have been postponed because Gene and Paul have both contracted COVID.
Correct.
Now, of course, by the time this episode will be uploaded, it's kind of old news. Paul has recovered. Gene is in recovery. Yeah. And they've had to postpone some shows, which, of course, is not great. But that's kind of what I wanted to talk about with this episode, is the fact that it's the End of the Road tour. We're seeing a lot of bumps in the road on the End of the Road tour. And so we kind of just want to talk about, what's going to happen with this tour and kind of where we're going. Yeah. Because the shows that have been canceled as of right now, this filming, tonight they would be in Milwaukee. They should be in Milwaukee tonight, but that is the fourth show that's been canceled, along with Tinley Park, which is the one that we were going to go to. Yeah. Try and make it out to Dayton, which is one that we talked about as well. Right. And Clarkston, Michigan. So those 4 shows as of now have been canceled. They have shows in between now and the next episode. They have shows in California and Washington to play. So we don't know whether those are going to be playing or not. So, I mean, of course, you'll know whether they've been canceled or not. But that's kind of where we're at, is like, it seems that they're just, playing the shows that they can. Yeah. They're postponing the ones that they can't. Mm-hmm. And it's under the impression that the show must go on.
Right. I think it's especially frustrating, not only to the fans themselves, but to Gene and Paul, who, this really is the most unfortunate, way to end their career. I mean, they've already had to, postpone and cancel shows in Australia a couple times. And that was a huge, disappointment for everyone over there. But, this is the last Kiss tour, and to see things kind of going off course a little bit, and it's just really making me feel bad for the band, knowing that they're the ones who are trying to work their way through this in the safest way possible. But the circumstances really are just not totally unforgiving.
Right.
And so, but I also wanted to talk a little bit about that first show that was canceled. We were texting each other back and forth and kind of working off of statements that were being made online, and how kind of messy the whole communication was regarding that. I don't remember where it was, that first canceled show where they said
Michigan.
I
think it was Michigan.
Right, where they said I can't remember who I heard it from first. It may have been you or someone.
No, I'm sorry. Michigan was the first one that was postponed. It may have been another show. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, they'll say it's really irrelevant, but a statement was released, that the show was being canceled, and people were starting to speculate on why, right? And then I don't know who started the whole Paul Stanley heart failure rumor or something like that.
I don't know where the source started, but it was either one of two people. It was a person who was being a troll and was knowing that Kiss fans would get really either hyped up or really excited or worried and
quick to spread the word.
Or it was somebody who was genuinely concerned about Paul and wanted the fans to know, but was just misinformed.
Yeah,
or made a speculation. Right. It was either somebody who was genuinely caring or who was a troll.
Yeah.
Either way, it was false.
Because it didn't come. I mean, we know it didn't come from Paul, because he released a statement after the fact saying, stop believing in the rumors.
Yeah.
I'm okay. But setting that aside, it was still confusing, because once Kiss, their official, I saw it on Twitter, their official statement was someone on the crew contracted COVID-19. And then so when we were texting each other as all this stuff was unfolding, we had the sigh of relief. Okay, Paul's fine. His heart's okay, whatever that was, And then it came out that Paul Stanley has COVID-19.
Yeah.
So that
there was two statements released within like an hour or two of each other. One on Instagram or Twitter said there was the crew, but then Kiss's Facebook said it was Paul. KissOnline.com said it was a crew member.
Yeah,
Facebook
which is what I saw on Twitter, a crew member, and I was like, okay, that sucks for them, but at least our guy Paul Stanley,
the lead guy,
and then just to have that come out afterwards that perhaps the worst case scenario, Paul Stanley from Kiss got COVID. That's why they canceled the show. That's really sort of alarming.
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was kind of messy with the communication there.
And whose fault it was, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It probably didn't help that people online like to spread things quickly without getting the facts straight. But, yeah. And then, of course, after Paul's contracted it, Gene has contracted COVID-19, which is perhaps even more alarming.
Yeah, I'm more worried about Gene than I am Paul. I don't know why, but that's just my...
Yeah, we can't pretend to know everything about Gene's,
his
health life, but it is just,
But I noticed some things about Gene in the last couple of years that have made me kind of...
Yeah.
Just in a normal way, just, hey, I worry about you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you have COVID to worry about on this tour, but you also have fans to worry about, because now fans are starting to wonder, like, is this tour even worth going? Yeah. They're trying to do plexiglass. They did a couple meet and greets with the plexiglass.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that, so I'm glad you brought that up.
And, fans are kind of, they're mad, which I get it. They're mad that they have so much money racked up in their tickets. Yes. They said we were going to go to this show and this show, and now they can't go. And
I was thinking about
you have ticket holders, or, you have... places holding people's money.
Yeah.
Ticket holders are having their money held by places.
Even on that show that they canceled, that first one.
Oh, it was the day of.
Already, people had already gone to the venue.
They were there.
And so, but, and while I can see
them being mad.
Angry, and a lot of people were, exercising anger, but it was sort of disheartening to see so many people direct that anger towards the band,
right,
and towards them personally, because I saw a little bit on Twitter, which is just a cesspool anyway.
Yep.
But it was a little bit, disheartening to see people say, "Oh, we were, because I get it. You traveled, who knows how far.
Yeah, be mad that it happened, not at the
situation,
band.
but not at the band. So I guess I would just urge everyone listening to approach this with a little more empathy, considering Gene and Paul got COVID-19. Mm-hmm. That's not something that they can.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at too with the Peter Criss thing, because we put money down for our Peter Criss tickets. We had autographs, we had pictures, we had tickets to the event.
Yeah,
and I mean,
it's crushing to a lot of fans.
It's unfortunate, but it's for the better, at least for now. And they will come back around. They're the kind of band that doesn't just cancel shows and say, "Hey, sayonara." Mm-hmm. Eventually, they will come back around.
Yeah.
And it's kind of where I'm trying to find the positivity in all this, because it is so easy to get caught up in the Instagrams and the Facebooks and the Twitters where people are going back and forth about this and that. And it's like, you know what? Yesterday would have been Tinley Park for us.
Yeah.
We had thought about making a whole weekend of going to Tinley Park. We didn't buy our tickets because we saw this on the horizon. We saw this happening and thought, well, we'll just wait and see before we actually buy the tickets. And good thing we did. Right. But we were going to have a whole event planned, and then we had the next week with Peter Criss. And so, it's upsetting, but we can also look at the bright side and say, they will come back.
Yeah,
and perhaps when they do come back, we'll be in a better position financially to buy tickets. Maybe you out there as well, if you're listening or watching, and you're wanting to sneak one show in, and maybe you were thinking, I'll do it, but I'm going to be hurting for a while. Well, now we can at least...
we can plan for it.
We can plan for it a little bit better.
Things might be a little safer by the next time they come around.
Hopefully things are a lot safer.
Because, do we have any sort of time period as to when they are going to come back? Because we're in September already. Mm-hmm. Shows aren't going to be happening for, another month and a half? If fall's approaching, I know that there's shows going on in October, but... winter, they're going to have to wait until another whole year to come back. Maybe this spring. I don't know.
The U.S. leg officially ends around October. I think I have here October 9th in Florida. So in October, they will wrap up this sort of end of the road, this leg. But we also have the Kiss Cruise, which is where we start also talking about this conversation, where it's what's going to happen with the Kiss Cruise, because the Kiss Cruise in 2020 was canceled, and they are still selling tickets.
Yes. As far as the last I heard, it was on.
As if it's going to happen. There's tickets still being sold.
Yeah.
They're saying, hey, get your tickets now. Mm-hmm. Don't miss this. Don't miss that. And so you got to wonder, is there even going to be a cruise? Yeah. And are these people, whoever it is, behind the Facebook posts and that are making the posts, is it their obligation to sell tickets? Yeah. Because, they may be thinking, you know what, this isn't going to happen. Mm-hmm. But it's my job to sell these tickets. Yeah. Nothing to do with Kiss. It's just that person. So it makes me kind of wonder if those folks already know that the Kiss Cruise isn't going to happen, but they still have to make those sales and get those tickets. And I wonder if fans themselves who already have those tickets are making plans to get either refunded or they're already counting on it not happening. Yeah. But so, not that we have any special insight, but kind of what do you think about the Kiss Cruise? Like, it'll be happening October 29th. They're going to go from... So that's in like a month and a half. You're going to have a bunch of people from different countries on one boat for a few days, traveling around, where if you get COVID, everybody's going to get COVID.
It's sort of the same way with the shows. We just have to take it day by day, and it's such an ugly situation. And I would hate to be anyone in charge of those things, because it's not just Kiss. It's entertainment abroad, where people are really making difficult decisions about these things. And for Kiss, I think it's a little more. They've got a little more pressure because it's the last tour, and fans are anxious to get out there and see them. But with the cruise, I haven't done as much research into it because I hadn't planned on attending the cruise. Although one day, if they're going to continue doing that, I sure would like to. But I heard that they were maybe going to require vaccinations for something like that, which could mitigate the potential risks of safety in terms of COVID-19.
Kiss or the venues we're going to request?
Oh, well, I'm speaking in terms of the cruise, the ship.
The cruise, okay.
So, again, that's one possible way to do it. I don't know how many Kiss fans are going to like that. Mm-hmm. Again, not to get too deep into that side of things, but I could see them doing that, and I think it would still end up being fairly successful, even if it doesn't completely sell out. Yeah. Which would be sad to see, because they have sold out. They have had remarkable success. with the Kiss cruises, so that's why this is such a big deal. But I think requiring the vaccination could help a lot if they're willing to do that, and if the fans are willing to show up. But again, we're just going to have to take it day by day and see, what if Tommy or Eric contracts COVID by that point. Anyway, any number of things still could happen to affect that. And so I would, again, really hate to be anyone in charge and sort of making these decisions and letting people down potentially.
The one thing that I will commend Kiss for is their tenacity in doing this, because even when they did the Dubai event, they had that little Dubai pre-show documentary thing where, part of it was like an advertisement for Dubai, how great that place is, but it was also them saying, hey, if anybody has any doubts on us taking this seriously, we are. We are taking this very seriously. And I think on this tour they actually have I think a COVID specialist or something like that. There's a proper name for it, but they have a COVID specialist who's there
testing people,
whose job is to make sure everybody's following protocol and is being on it. And then of course you have, I've seen Gene during shows pointing people out and saying, mask. Like,
really?
Yes, Gene, like policing people in the pit.
Are people wearing masks in the crowds?
In the pit, I believe.
Oh, okay, so when people are really
people in the pit, walking around freely.
Yeah.
I've seen videos of Gene like making sure people are like being safe, because of course, and they've been saying that this whole time, if one person gets it, it gets shut down.
15,000 people might get it.
yeah. If one person gets it, the whole thing shuts down, and that's what happened. So anybody who thinks that Gene and Paul are being really anal about it, or being too uptight, or too political, or too this or too that, there's a reason why. Because they're trying to get through this tour. There are, any given night, 20,000 people who are showing up to a show wanting to see Kiss, and then if one person gets it, guess what? We've seen it. They get sent home. So, I mean, I know a lot of fans, Kiss fans especially, are kind of the crowd that where you got 50-50 who want to be vaccinated and those who are against it completely. And it's a very divisive thing. But if you're going to want to go see Kiss and see Kiss on the cruise or in concert, venues may, in the end, require vaccination.
I'm glad you brought that up about them taking it seriously. I totally commend them for taking it seriously. But it also kind of opens up a different discussion whether we want to go there or not. Since this is all happening and since shows are being canceled and rescheduled, maybe it was too early to open things back up and do this anyway.
It could have been.
And again, Kiss is in the worst position of them all because they're on their last tour and it's already being prolonged.
Yeah.
And these guys are old.
Yeah.
And they probably maybe were looking forward because they would have been done by now.
Oh, correct? Yeah, July.
In July, it would have been over. So
they'd be checked out on vacation forever right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, perhaps you could make the argument that things open too quickly, but Kiss really, this tour can't continue on another 2 years, for another year. And so right now, I mean, do we have any sort of idea, even with these canceled shows, as to when the end is going to be? I mean, where are they going after the U.S.?
So after the U.S., the last show on October 9th in Florida, there's, of course, the Kiss Cruise, October 29th. Yeah. We didn't even talk about, we'll come back to this, the Vegas thing.
Yes.
They have Vegas, which will run from December to February. But then on Kiss Online, we have the Australian leg picking up in March. March 22nd to April 9th on Kiss Online is when the Australian tour has been rescheduled. So those shows have been rescheduled.
I feel so bad for those.
I feel so bad for Australia because not only is Kiss huge there, but they've been trying to go back for a while and they've had to.
But they're on fire without Kiss's help. There
have been so many things keeping Kiss from going to Australia.
Yeah.
Even then, after that, April 9th is the last show in Australia. They still have South America and Europe. And those shows alone will take them to July 2022. That's 1 year. That's already 1 year past their deadline. The last scheduled show, as of now, on KissOnline.com at this recording, is July 21st, 2022 in Amsterdam.
And that could very well be pushed back even further.
And that's not their, they had their last big final ever Kiss show planned.
Yeah. That
I don't think is that. They're not going to do their last show, at least not for now. Yeah. So that show that they had scheduled for July 2021, the last big ever Kiss show, that won't even be talked about for a while. I don't think they're going to even talk about that until they can get through all this.
But how? I mean, it's
so the last show we have is Amsterdam.
I really feel for Gene and Paul for really knowing that and looking forward to that down the road, because I mean, even after they get done with the U.S., which they're already struggling to get through, they have to go. I mean, it's like they're working backwards just to get just to finish this tour. And it was a big ambitious tour at the start before COVID. It was a big tour.
It was already from January 2019 to July 2021. It was already this huge world tour. And really I wish I could get their thoughts, their real thoughts, because when you see them in media and in interviews, they're always in interview mode. Oh, yeah. They have their shticks and they have their things that they go to, but I would like to get their real thoughts. And
say, what do you think about 2022?
Because they are the kind of people that will keep their obligation. They are going to play. They will play every one of these shows, no questions asked, because they've made the commitment. They know their fans want it. Yeah. They know that the industry kind of depends on them as far as venues and road crews, and they have a lot riding on this. So they're going, one way or another, they will see it through. Yeah. But you can't help but think, man, guys, we've been at this for almost 50 years, and we were really hoping to, wind down and enjoy our lives, which we've given up for the most part to this band. So, I mean, you can't help but think, they want to retire.
It is.
I would love to get their thoughts, because again, then you have, they're trying to get through this tour, and you have people in the industry, you have fans trying to bring them down, and say, well, you should have quit in 2000. This is what you get for writing it out. This is what you get for whatever. And it's like, so I can't imagine what it would be like for Gene and Paul to be in this position where they know they have so many fans who want this. They have so many fans who are kind of like shrugging their shoulders and folding their arms. But then they have the industry and their legacy to think about.
Yes.
Because
it's being ravaged, but it's
no. It's not being ravaged. Nothing that's happening will ever undo what Kiss has done. It's just a bump in the road, a series of bumps.
Yes, it is. It's a roadblock on the end of
I've been talking to fans who have 3 or 4 shows lined up. We were talking about going to at least 1 or 2 more. Yeah. And then you have the fans that showed up that day. Yeah. To that one show and got turned away at the door because of all this. And so it's like, it's not going to undo anything Kiss has done, but it really just...
Well, what worries me more than anything is just Gene and Paul's physicality. I mean, they're doing fine right now as they have been, but just at that age, every year has got to just take a toll. And, Gene's going to be... almost he just had a birthday.
He's 72 now.
Well, then he'll be almost 70.
Paul will be 70 in January.
It's like every year counts.
Yeah.
A lot for these guys.
It's a good way to put it.
I don't want Gene to worry about having to, doing it for a whole another year when he should have already been done, and just, because he's already, old.
I'm really glad that they do take care of themselves, and it's really admirable, because you look at I'm not going to name any names because I'm not here to do any of that. But you look at some other people in rock who are in the same era as Gene and Paul and those guys, and you see them struggle with their health in very obvious ways. Maybe it's, due to some of the choices they've made in life and some of the things they put in their bodies, or just the fact that they're humans and we all age. But you see that age in some of these people in rock and roll, and then you look at Gene and Paul, and you see Gene running a mile with his dogs, jogging. You see Paul, who's always biking and cycling and doing these things, and it's just
very active.
It's nice to know that even though yes, age is a real thing and they get older by the year, they're still performing at the top of their game as best as they can. Yeah, they are hell bent on giving us fans the best and then themselves being the best. Yeah. They're a very arrogant band in their interviews, but there's a reason why. Yeah. They always say we're the hardest working band, and whether that's true or not, you can't actually gauge that. Yeah. Nobody says, well, statistically, this band worked harder than this band during this quarter. No. Yeah. But when you look at, who Kiss is and what Kiss has done, and, the fact that they're one of the not only bands, but they're a band who's really trying to tour and play shows and give people... That is, they've always been the band that says, there's bad news in the newspaper, bad news on the radio, bad news on TV, but when you're at a Kiss show, it's all Kiss and it's all fun, and that's what they're trying to give to the fans.
And that's why it's so important now.
Yeah.
It's.
So I'm glad that even despite everything, the COVID-19 and the fact that Gene's 70, Gene 72, Paul will be 70 next year. They are. in relatively good health.
Yeah, they're okay.
And I'm not sure how long we're going to go here with this episode, because this is just us trying to like speculate on what may happen with the tour. But since we're talking about Paul's, and Gene's health, and talking about them trying to give the fans the best that they can give, in the last episode when Daphne was here, we started talking about Paul's use of backing tracks on the End of the Road tour, which we did notice. Yes. Even before the shows, it was always a topic. And, it kind of goes back to that topic earlier of, fans being really quick to fire off and, spread negativity. And I'm not saying you can't have your opinion.
Right.
And I'm not saying that your opinion has to line up with our opinion.
Right.
But I wanted to talk about it with you a little bit, because when Daphne and I were talking, we were talking about how, it's very noticeable, but we didn't really feel like it detracts too much from either the experience or even just Kiss's career as a whole.
Right.
So when you first saw that Paul was using backing tracks, how did that feel? And then do you feel differently now that it's 2021 and it's been a couple years or whatever? So how do you feel about that?
Yeah. Well, when it first kind of came out, I didn't really believe it at first until, I think you sort of showed me some back-to-back, here's what he sounded like then, here's what he sounded like then. It's pretty much identical. And then, I didn't really notice it until, I believe it was the first show we saw on the End of the Road tour. We went to Kentucky, and I heard it in person. And so that's when it really sort of hit me. And while I admit it was disappointing just to kind of, in that one moment, to notice it. So apart from that, it doesn't really bother me because I understand why he does it. I choose to take the more sympathetic route and say, well, he's not doing it because he's lazy. He's doing it because his vocal cords have been, used and abused over the years. And if he needs help here and there, I mean, that's okay with me. And so it seems like he's 90% singing throughout the show. It's just certain lines or certain notes that he has to hit here and there that he might need help with. And so if I were to be more critical, I could say, well, I wish they would be more honest about it. I mean, I know they haven't directly addressed this issue. I don't think anyone's asked Paul, like, hey, have you been using backing tracks on the End of the Road shows or anything like that. But it's just the fact that in recent previous tours, they have been like really vocal about not doing that.
Right.
And so it kind of looks bad when you get caught doing what you were being so prideful in saying that you did not do. Yeah. And so, again, overall, not a big deal for me because I'm aware of it. I understand why. And I hope everyone's, of course, no one wants their favorite singer to use a crutch or anything like that. Right. But I know Paul Stanley still works hard, just as hard as he ever did. I know, like, again, it's not coming from a place of laziness. I'm not sure most people even notice it. I mean, most of the casual fans, which might be, a lot of people who's actually going to those shows. I mean, not all of them are diehards. Right. I think people like us who spend a lot of time, focusing on all these little details because we know how Paul sings. Especially you can point out how, in this
the way his throat moves.
Yes. I'll say with the way his mannerisms, the way he looks.
The strain.
In different eras of the band, he's saying things differently, and it's no different for the current era, just paying attention. So for people like us, we're going to notice those things. But for the general audience, it's not really... I feel like they do a decent job of making it a part of the show to where it's not super duper obvious if you're not a diehard fan. Yeah. I don't think anyone who's going to see them for the first time and who only knows the hits, I don't think they're going to go, oh, on that line it looked like, because they don't know any better. Yeah. So I think it's for most people it's probably not very distracting, and then the fact that he's doing it fairly minimally really doesn't bother me. I mean, he's an old guy. He might need help with a couple notes. I see nothing wrong with that.
So let me say this real quick, because I was under the impression that it was more supplemental, the vocal tracks, and I went back and watched a lot more footage, recent footage, like within the last, before COVID shut everything down. Yeah. And what if I said that he was using vocal tracks for 90%?
For 90% of the bulk of the show and his songs that he sings?
Yeah, so you said a minute ago it was 90% him singing and 10% vocals.
That's what I thought.
I think it's actually the other way around.
Okay.
So,
well,
what if he's using it for the most of the show, and then he's only using his actual voice for in between songs?
So if it's the other way around,
does that change things for you? Because I think whereas certain notes like in Shout It Out Loud and then Detroit Rock City, and then maybe even some parts in like Say Yeah or something may stick out. There's a couple parts in Heaven's on Fire. Hear You
that's
Breathe.
A hard song to sing.
Yeah, it's a hard song to sing. So
yeah.
So when I went back and watched and I put my goggles on again, it seemed that it actually might be he's lip syncing for the majority of the show, and we're not really hearing too much actual Paul. Well, does that change it for you?
We should take a step back, and I will totally address that. But since we cannot 100% confirm anything, I just want to make it aware to everyone that we don't have the inside scoop. We don't work backstage. This is all speculation. I just want to say he's lip syncing. He's not.
Right.
We've noticed some patterns that are probably lip synced, but
yeah.
Does it change it for me? I mean, okay. So obviously, there's not an objective answer of right or wrong.
No.
Every fan's going to come to their own conclusion,
and they should.
For me, I give him a pass because
it still doesn't ruin it for me.
It's the last show. It's the last tour. Let Paul have this moment where he doesn't have to kill himself every night just for the crowd. I think for the majority of people, again, I haven't even noticed it that much. Barring a few moments, but
because it's him now. It's him. It sounds to me like when they did this, he got in the studio one day on a good day.
Yeah.
Where he wasn't, in the costume and the outfit. He wasn't running back and forth performing, and he still just sang his songs.
Yeah, because it still sounds like modern.
It still sounds, and it should, right? It should, because
continuity is good.
It'd be a little bit different if it was like You Wanted the Best when they said, "Hey, here's room service live," but it's vocals from '96. Mm-hmm. It'd be really weird if we were going to hear Kiss, live on this tour, and we were hearing Paul from '76. Mm-hmm. Like a track from '76 being played over top. That would be a little jarring.
Yes.
It does seem to me that modern day Paul Stanley got in the studio, recorded these tracks, one take as best as he could, knowing that it's not going to be like it was in the 80s, and said, here, let's use this really good take for the show to maintain that kind of consistency so that I don't have to get through the show. Or kill myself to get through a show, because, he has been... he's
struggled for a decade now.
He's that guy who's known to be singing at a high level, and
he's in the upper echelon of rock singers. He's known for that.
In the last episode, I think my quote was, "There's only so many folks that breathe that air." You have guys like Bruce Dickinson and Dio, Freddie Mercury, Robert Plant, who
really dig deep,
who have a voice that nobody can replicate.
Right, and
it's talent that you have to recognize, but it's also talent that you have to recognize that isn't going to be there forever. Yep. You're a guitar player, I'm a drummer. If your string breaks on a guitar or my stick breaks, we just go pick a new one out.
Yeah.
Vocal cords, you don't have that luxury. You're kind of stuck with what you have, and you have to work with what you have. Mm-hmm. And for Paul to have like you said, for the last decade, experiencing those issues, but still going out there, giving it his all,
right,
doing his best. I think in his book he said it was like sheer willpower that got him through some of those shows. He's done the vocal surgery. Mm-hmm. I think Paul does not have anything to prove.
No, yeah. Well, I something popped into my head a minute ago that it's kind of maybe a good analogy for some people, to relate it back to Paul possibly using backing tracks. Mm-hmm. In that Kiss documentary for A&E, fantastic, by the way. I think it was Paul who said they were talking about Kiss Alive. And they were talking about overdubs on the album.
Oh, this is going to be good.
And Paul totally laid it out and said, you know what, yeah, we did overdubs. How much of it's live, we don't know. But you get the Kiss, the live Kiss experience. It's not nothing. So when you go to a Kiss show, and presumably Gene's singing all of it. I mean, I don't think we've seen anything where Gene has struggled and using tracks. But if Paul is, again, I give him a pass. There's no way I could sit here and say, this guy who's been singing for us for 50 years am I in any position to tell him or condemn him for getting some help at a live show when he's almost 70 years old? No. How dare you?
How dare you?
I mean, again, it's not like there's no criticisms to be had. Again, it's unfortunate seeing them be somewhat inconsistent with that whole idea, but things change, you know.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's just the way it is, you know. You don't plan for this tour to go on longer than it is. So, I mean, who knows when it started, but you know, it's a couple tours ago he may have been doing just fine, and one night you have to think fast and you have to get through the tours.
It seems to me that, like, because we've been very fortunate to have been able to see Kiss live over the last decade very consistently.
Yeah.
And the thing that I've noticed is that when a tour starts, because with this digital age where you have like video of every show.
Yep.
Yeah, as soon as the tour starts, like we watched the first show, a live stream of the first show on this end of the road tour.
True.
You and I, which was great, by the way. I'm not saying it ruined the experience because it did not, but you and I were hunched over the computer with somebody else's live stream going, exactly. Oh, this is the new Kiss tour, this is the new Kiss stage. It was great, but you also have that luxury by having all that video. And so whenever I've watched these video clips from all these tours, I've noticed that in the beginning of a tour, Paul's voice will be really strong, or at least as strong as it can be, because he's had all this time to kind of rest, relax, practice, rehearse.
He's fresh.
And then as the tour goes on, naturally, it's going to wear and it's going to wane a little bit to where it might be a little bit more inconsistent. Those 4 shows earlier we talked about getting canceled. That was September 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th. Like, you're playing multiple shows a week, singing at the top of your game, and, running around on stage. And it's like, when I go to my job, it's like, it's physically involved, and it can be kind of intensive at times. It's nowhere near what they do, and so I think about myself getting up on stage at the age that I am, which would have been Paul Stanley around the Love Gun tour, probably, we're that age where Kiss would have been in the 70s. I still can't see myself performing at that level and that caliber. So I am quick to give them a pass, not because I want to coddle them or somehow defend them, but because I am understanding that what they do has taken a toll on them.
It's not like a new band, a new, fresh, young band gets on stage and they're all talentless hacks and they're all lip syncing.
Yes, very true.
That is not the case.
That is so true.
You have to put it in context and say, look at what this band has done.
Yeah.
It's probably fine.
Yeah.
And again, if you're aware of it, you can, in a sense, enjoy it more without wondering about it. Because if we end up going to see a show that's rescheduled, and I have in the back of my mind, okay, he might be not singing but 10% of it, I can still, through that, enjoy it for what it is, and enjoy Paul, enjoy them where they're at.
Yeah. You know how it bugged me?
What?
Because right now we're saying, it's you can criticize, but it's not going to ruin the experience. You know what would really ruin the experience for me, or where it would be a problem? If it was the 80s.
Fair enough.
If it was 80s Kiss and Paul was singing to a tape in the 80s, doing
that would look bad.
That would look really dumb because, you're obviously in a position to actually use your voice.
Yeah.
And not that I want to see you, kill yourself for us, because that's not what I want, but it would feel a lot more disingenuous and it wouldn't be as warranted if, this were the 80s or the 90s and he was trying to do that. Because if you remember back in those days, 80s, 90s, he was saying, this isn't no Milli Vanilli crap.
Yeah. Because lip syncing, I think, was still a thing.
Because lip syncing was, it was still a thing back then, and there was the whole Milli Vanilli thing where it, it was bad because it kind of it put all eyes on the industry as, okay, now is this live, is this not?
Everything's being called into question.
Everything's being called into question. And Kiss was the first one to say, hey, this is live Kiss. Yeah. Now, fast forward all those years, yes, your disposition will change, your reality will change, and your mind will change. It kind of brings me back to the other conversation. What was it? They said something similar, that no other members would wear the makeup other than the original lineup or something.
Oh, okay.
And or they said this, this is Kiss, this is the Kiss lineup.
Yeah.
And then, eventually the original lineup was out, and then you have the new lineup. And they said they were going to record new music after Psycho Circus.
Yeah.
And they recorded 2 more albums.
Farewell tour.
They said the farewell tour was going to be it, and guess what? They decided, you know what? No, there is light. So we are going to keep going.
Exactly.
In life, things do change. I am not the same person I was 10 years ago,
right.
and my mind has changed. I remember 10 years ago, I said I will never listen to rap music. I won't listen to EDM music.
Yeah.
I am rock and metal only, and that's sort of my thing. And it's like, now, if 10 years ago me could see me now, he'd be like, dude, what are you doing? Because I love rap music and I love EDM music, and that's because I've grown and I've changed, and my mind's changed. My reality has changed. My taste has changed. And so I think, well, Kiss, they're kind of the same thing where, they can be all pompous as they want in their interviews.
Exactly.
But things will change.
Things will change.
Yeah. And, it's not that they want to have to use tracks. I think Paul would be more than happy to have the same kind of to be able to perform at the level he did in the 80s nowadays. Who wouldn't, right? But that's not reality. And we have to, instead of being caught up in our emotions, we really should look at the reality and look at the facts. And the facts is that, Paul has performed at a level for all these years that none of us could match. And, if we really are fans, we should be a little bit more sympathetic and a little bit more understanding.
Yes.
And I've heard a lot of other people outside of Kiss weigh in on this.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, did you hear about Paul Stanley from Kiss? He's lip syncing. Doesn't that just prove that Kiss is a bunch of clowns?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, the Kiss, Kiss needs the Kiss Army now more than ever to have conversations like this where we can open it up in a very real way and say, look.
And you can still have their criticism.
You can still have your criticisms, because you know what? If you want to criticize, I would say right now that Paul needs to stay on the mic. Because if he's lip syncing, there's times where he's away from the mic when he should be singing.
Yeah.
That's noticeable. There's times where you hear power vocals coming across the PA system, but he's just miming it along. We can criticize all day long about the things that he's doing, and maybe we should to a certain extent. But I think that hearing Paul, knowing that Paul is having some help on this tour, doesn't really detract from the overall Kiss experience.
Yeah.
It doesn't somehow undo what they've done in the past. I just think that they're trying to do the best they can do to
get through these shows,
to give us the best show that they can possibly give us, and for Paul to maintain consistency through that tour, using his voice when he needs to. Because the flip side of all this is, if people aren't complaining about Paul using a backing track, they're complaining that he's, in essence, not using a vocal track because he's using his real voice. They're saying his real voice, we don't want to hear.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Bingo.
You
They're damned if they do. And so I would hope that Kiss fans would be a little bit more reluctant to...
Maybe we should all just relax about this stuff. I mean, this is the end of the road tour.
This
is supposed to be a celebration of this band's history.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to get the most pure... no backing track, everything has to be perfect type Kiss show.
Your checklist has to be this, has to be that.
Yeah, sit back. We've seen him when he was singing great. It's not what it used to be. Take it, approach them where they're at and celebrate the band as the great band that we all know and love. We don't necessarily need to hyper, fixate on all these little things when maybe that's not the point on this tour.
Right, yeah.
So I'm fine with it.
They have an amazing set list. They're playing great songs.
Yeah.
Set list is great. The
They're
costumes,
there. Gene and Paul are there.
The costumes are fantastic. They put a lot of love into the show with whether it's the pyro, the screens. Same with the Serpent.
You're still getting a full Kiss show.
You're getting a full, complete Kiss. You're still hearing a modern day Paul Stanley. He's just not, like I said, killing himself to get through shows anymore. And I think that when I see these shows, I still feel like I'm seeing a Kiss show.
Absolutely.
I'm still just as in it as I always was.
I think what a lot of people might take into consideration is that once you get to the venue, it just kind of all goes away.
Yeah.
We can sit here behind our computers and, watch all the footage of him lip syncing or, possibly. But when you go to a Kiss show, do you really sit there
with
your
not.
arms crossed?
I would hope not.
And wait for the moments to disappoint you.
I would
that
hope
is
not.
no way to approach a show, and you probably shouldn't go. I mean, I can't tell you.
You can't tell.
You shouldn't go or not, but if you're gonna go, enjoy it. Say, you know what? Yep, Paul's lip syncing, and I'm gonna enjoy it anyway because this is my favorite band. And 50 years down the line, this is where they're at, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an optimistic approach, and I'm, again, not saying anyone can't be critical.
Yeah, it is so easy to because we have rewind buttons.
Yeah.
You know, we can zoom in on things, and we can replay things and rewatch, and we have so much evidence at our disposal that, I mean, it's so easy to become laser focused on things like that. And you and I are some of the first to do that. We're right there with our goggles. But once you've done that as a fan, because all fans are going to, you know, what do you do with that?
Well,
what do you do with that? How do you deal with that? And how do you move past that? And that's kind of what we're doing here. We're saying, hey, it's not the end of the world.
It's not.
It's the end of the
It's
road.
not fair to Paul, and it's not even fair to us for being upset about it, because I don't think it's very justified.
It's a little late, don't you think?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not worth it to me. Just take them where they're at and enjoy it, because it's not like they're giving you a bad show. It's not like it doesn't sound bad. They're giving you a full Kiss show, playing awesome songs that just find a way to enjoy it, is what I'm saying.
If people want to bring up the topic of like authenticity and all this, and it's not authentic that I'm hearing. This isn't an authentic show. This isn't a real Kiss show, authentic Kiss show. And I have to ask, well, what makes an authentic Kiss show? You're not hearing Kiss's real voice. I'll tell you right now, that's not the real faces. That's makeup. Their hair, they're wearing wigs.
Right.
Those outfits, they don't wear those on the streets. You know what I'm saying? Eric's drums, those are triggers.
Yeah.
Guess what? Those guitars, unplug them. They don't sound the same.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of tricks happening in shows and with music. I mentioned earlier about how it would be a little bit different situation if Paul was a little bit younger and a little bit in a different state. Yeah. Not to call out anybody, because I'm not here to detract from anybody, but we saw Godsmack and Shinedown a couple years ago. Yeah. And by the way, just disclaimer, I think Shinedown is a great band. I've heard a lot of their music lately, and I'm really enjoying it. I think they're one of the bands that, when it comes to this current era, people always say Foo Fighters, and they stop. It's like, that's the last great band. No, you're forgetting bands like Godsmack, Disturbed, Shinedown, 3 Days Grace. There's all kinds of bands that have come out in the last 20 years that are, well, actually, I don't know. Anyway, maybe earlier. But anyway, there's a lot of great bands that are still out there performing that aren't from the 70s and 80s. And Shinedown's one of them. But the one thing that I
heard a lot of vocal stuff going on.
The one thing that really shocked me first was how great they sounded. I was like, because we were there for Godsmack, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Godsmack is our number 2 band, probably. Yeah. And I was like, this is going to be a great show. I could see 2 really good bands, and had never seen Shinedown before. And while watching the show, I noticed he turned around, the microphone was not up to his mouth, and he walked back, and he's still singing.
Yeah.
Now, why you would do that in the first place, I don't know, because we have eyes. But 2, it kind of makes you realize it's not just Kiss.
It's normal. It's normalized in a lot of bands.
And it's not
pop
just
and rock
and
country.
People think that it's just a rock, a pop and a rap thing, and they don't realize that rockers do it just as often.
It's really out there.
you start digging deeper, and you think, okay, well, how many albums have you heard that have actual drums? Those drums are either programmed. They're drum machines, or even if it was a real person, they've been replaced with MIDI. Yeah. It's all MIDI. Yeah. And again, live, it's triggers. People want to really talk about authenticity. If you want to talk about it, let's talk about it, because right now, nothing is authentic. Everything is supposed to be smoke and mirrors.
Everything's enhanced.
Everything is supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
A show. And that's what you want. That's what I want.
That's what you want.
I don't necessarily want the most.
If you want live drums, listen to Monster. Guess what? People complain because Monster's drumming, it was murky, it didn't sound good, man.
I loved the sound of. I thought the sound of Monster. For me, it's superior to Sonic Boom. I mean, they're total opposites in a way.
Yeah.
Sonically.
But there's a reason to complain for everything.
Yes.
It's like, why?
And I would say if like pure authenticity is what you value, then criticize all you want. But that's not what I go for. I mean, I'm going for the songs. I'm going in part because Gene and Paul is there, and I love them.
Bingo.
I like Tommy and Eric. All my friends are there. We connect with so many. It's just there's so much more, and that That's what Kiss is. It's so much more than just the one thing.
Yeah,
I go to a Kiss show.
It's the music,
like
it's the songs, it's the fans.
Yeah, authenticity.
It's the merch, it's the people.
Yeah.
It's the experience, it's the makeup, it's the pyro, it's your favorite songs.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the memories.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a million different things that we go for Kiss for. And so I think if we were to leave people with something, it would be enjoy Kiss for what Kiss is.
Yeah.
And
be grateful that they're still playing, maybe.
And
that would be a good place to start.
Absolutely. And yeah, you mentioned something earlier that when we saw our last Kiss show on the 16th of February in 2020, the thing that was my big takeaway was, like, this is Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley in the same room as me performing for me.
Yes.
These folks are here too.
Yeah, just like they always have.
Yeah,
still Kiss.
They showed up in my town and they got out on stage. They laid it all out there and they gave me a show that I'll never forget. We're talking about it, now.
Absolutely.
And we will forever. Yep. And that's my takeaway is that Kiss is my favorite band. I've been so blessed to see them live.
Yep.
And I want others to see them live. I want this tour to continue even beyond COVID. I know that anybody can speculate whether they vaccinate, non-vaccinate, and postpone this or play this. I just love Kiss. I love celebrating Kiss, and I think it's nice to open up the conversation a little bit and say, when we talk about Paul possibly using backing tracks, not that big a deal.
Not that big a deal to me.
The only
more important things at play here.
and one of those things is his health.
Yeah,
it's the band's health, his health. That's what I care about the most. Yeah. So, is there anything you want to talk about before we wrap up here? Anything else? I think in the next episode you wanted to talk a little bit more about not so much the end of the road, but Kiss's legacy.
Kiss, where Kiss will fit into the musical history 50, maybe 100 years down the road, and how that's, or what that's going to look like, and I think it'll be an interesting discussion. But no, other than that, I
do too. We talked about in a previous episode what will be the future of Kiss in the next 5 to 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
This episode we're talking about Kiss now in the next couple years. So next time will be Kiss, 50, 100 years in the future, and talk about
will they be remembered? Should
yeah,
they be?
Because in 50 years. Kiss, as in Gina Paul, won't be around. Right. A lot of Kiss's fan base won't be around.
True.
You and I will.
Hopefully.
The younger fans that are here, there will still be.
Yeah.
Will Kiss in some way, and if so, what capacity?
Will Kiss end up in the history books, and what will that look like?
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting. But other than that, I think we topped it off. We always try to end it on a positive note, and that's
what this podcast is. I hope that when people watch this, they get a sense of positivity.
Yeah.
I hope we do sometimes sound like we're on a high horse. I don't want to be that.
That's
people.
What Kiss fans do.
Yeah, we want to be gatekeepers without being gatekeepers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be a toxic gatekeeper. I just want to make sure that we're looking at this appropriately because there's so much.
Kiss should be a positive experience.
Yes, it should be.
That's what it should be. It should not rule your life in any negative way, and if it is, then just cut it out.
Yeah, I don't want to be a gatekeeper. I want to be a peacekeeper, a peacemaker. You know what I'm saying?
If you're not happy with Kiss, cut them out of your life. You don't have to have
peace and love.
The rest of us will enjoy them for what they are.
Ringo Starr, peace and love.
Hope you do the same. So with that, I think we can wrap it up and say, thank you for watching. Again, like and subscribe.
Kiss rocks.
Kiss is the best.
Kiss is great.
End of the road.
End of the road. Anyway, so next time, episode 11. Until then, I'm Xander.
I'm Jed.
This is episode 10 of the Kiss Army Things podcast. Thank you very much.